is clear to you.
Yeah,
And
is
yeah, yesterday we were talking about functions. Actually, that topic is little important, so I tried to make sure that you understand it clearly. So I took little time on the topic, like types of this one, types of parameters. That is the topic here, friends. So this is the topic we had discussed in the yesterday's session, right? So positional and then key parameters and then default and then variable and parameters, all this. And we had a very clear discussion on positional and key parameters. It was very deep session. I took almost discussed it these two itself for almost 50 minutes. We had a discussion. But actually, it's a very simple topic. It doesn't need that much time. We can just quickly cover this in just 10 to 15 minutes. But as I want to make sure that we are clear on this, so we spend more time on the topic. That's all, friends. So that is the idea. So now, just a minute. Let me see if we are recording again. Okay. Positional parameters is clear for us. It's nothing but the actual parameters where we follow. We must follow some order for that. An order is important for positional parameters that we had discussed in the yesterday's session. Okay. And if you don't follow the order, nothing happens, but we don't get expected output. So and again and we cannot sometimes if you don't pass values to the expected parameters, then we don't get expected results as well. So that is one more important thing, friends. Okay, so I think I am keeping everyone in mute. So that's the idea about this positional parameters. And but again, there comes a problem. What is that? What if we have a different order, but still if we should pass proper values to the formal parameters? In that case, we had discussed about keyed arguments and how to declare keyed arguments and how to pass those keyed values to this parameters of a function. We had discussed that as well. I hope that should be clear. And also we had understood about the pros and cons and the rules associated with the keyed arguments. That should be fine for all of us, right? While working with keyed parameters or keyed arguments, right? Positional must be declared first, and after that, the keyed argument should be declared later. So that's very important thing. And we had seen few use cases if that works or not in the yesterday's session. So that should be fine for all of us, friends. So this is all discussed in detail. Maybe you can go through that session in the YouTube. It is already uploaded to YouTube, so you can try that, friends. So that is the idea about positional and keyed parameters. Now let's talk about default parameters. What is default parameter in Python? It's a simple thing. See, if you just by default we assign some values to this formal parameters, right? To this parameters of a function. And if you don't pass any values, then by default your function uses this formal arguments. That's all. This default values. That's all. That is idea about default parameters. I'm just quickly repeating it. If you see here, this is the simple example. In this, we have this parameters declared to a function, and these parameters are by default assigned with some values here. And if we are not passing values through function call, then by default function chooses values from these default values. Right? Function uses these default values in case if we are not passing values through caller. Suppose if you are passing values through caller, then the values which you are passing will override these default values. If you don't pass values, then function uses default values. So that is the simple idea about default parameters. So let's execute a simple program and have a quick idea about this default parameters. Let's see that now. So this is about discussing about the default parameters. I'm closing all these programs. Let's close all this. Now new Python file, and then default params use case. You can take a simple program, declare a simple function f1 and take two variables and initialize them. Then and usually this is like this a b and then print them. Print. So here the value of a is okay, and then put a dot format and then print this a here. Similarly, print one more. This is a simple program, and then just print b here. That's all, friends. So what did we do now? We did create a simple function with two parameters, a and b, but these are not default parameters so far. We'll just declare. I'll just show you how to make them default. It's a very simple thing. We don't have any issue at all, right? But this is a simple function with two parameters, right? And how do you call this function? We should call this function with the function name by passing two values like this. Now execute this, right click and then say run. And you can see the values are printed like this. This is fine. Right. This is one case. This is usually this is the one we implement in programming. And there are situations where we assign some default values to a function, something like this. Right. So like this, b equal to 20. And this practice prevails in your day-to-day activity. So this assigning this default values is one of the most used practice. And even we do this. We also use this default parameters. Okay, sometimes when you are trying to work with multiple environments, how we use default parameters. Let me just give you a quick idea. We work with multiple environments like dev, like prod, like UAT, like this. We try to work with this while doing some automation on these environments in this Python scripts. We generally try to set this values to environment to default to dev or default to this UAT or default to prod, something like this. So that while executing code, if you don't pass any value to the caller, automatically it will pick that dev environment, or it picks that prod environment, or it picks that UAT environment, DUAT environment, something like this, friends. I hope this is clear. So this is actually a useful practice, and the people almost follow this practice. I hope this is clear, right? So in this case, what friends? What do we do? Simple. Generally, we don't declare any values with these parameters. And if you just pass some values, by default, if you assign some values, then such parameters are called default parameters. That's all, friends. And when you have default parameters, so the advantage is, suppose you see here, I am not passing any in this case, as these parameters are default and these are assigned with some values. So even if I don't pass values with the caller, we don't have a problem. Why? So here in this case, in second case, for the caller which we declare at line 6, we are not passing values, but still this function uses these default values which are assigned to A and B here. So that is what happens when we have default parameters. Even if you don't pass any values through caller, function uses those default values. I hope this is clear. So let me right click and run this now. Now you can see we have two outputs. In the first case, these two values are coming from the caller declared at line 5. And the other two values are coming from the function coming from the default values. This when second color is called, then the function with this default values are executed. Right. This time function chooses default values. Why? Because we are not passing any values through this color. In that case, function chooses or uses these default values or default parameters. That's the quick idea. I hope this is clear, friends. This is simple idea about the default parameters. And there are few cases, few cases what something like this. Suppose in this is another case. You see here. This time I am passing only one parameter. You can see one argument. Then in this case, is it a legal or valid or invalid declaration? Is it a valid way of declaring a color? What's your answer, friends? This is a valid one. In this case, this parameter, this actual argument is passed to the first parameter. And second is automatically taken from the default value, right? So this is the idea. So what do you do? Let's run this now and see to which parameter this 100 is assigned in this function. Okay, let us run this and execute it. You can see here this 100 is by default passed as a first argument, and that is copied to A here, right? Now, second will be, we didn't pass second value from the column. Then, in that case, the second value is taken from the, it will, it uses this default value from the second parameter. So you can see the output now. In the output, A is set to 100 and B is coming from default value here, friends. I hope this is clear. So this is also one more case. So when you have this concept of default values, right? So how we can, in how many ways we can call such function? It means you can see here. One, you can pass both values through color. In this case, what happens, friends? Both this A and B are set with values you are passing. That is case one. And case two. In case two, you are not passing values. But in this case, the values which are declared with function, they are used by the function and then they are printed. That is case two. In the third case, you are passing only one value, but still this first value is copied to the first argument and the second default value is set to the B by the function. So what is the point? Finally, the conclusion is if user passes any value through caller, then those are replaced by this default values. And if user is not passing value, then function uses these default values. So that is the conclusion, friends. I hope this is clear for all of you, right? So when we run this, you can see here, this is the output. You can see we have clearly discussed about all these scenarios here. I hope this should be clear for all of you about default parameters. Can you please confirm if you are clear or not in the chat box? Sorry, I caught with the severe cold and cough. So especially cold. Please ignore if there is any inconvenience. Is this clear, friends, about default parameters? Please confirm in the chat box. Okay, thank you. Now, this is a simple topic. Simply speaking, already we had enough repetitions of this. If developer doesn't pass any values through caller, then function uses these default values. Default values are the values which are by default initialized. So we initialize the parameters of function with some values, and such values are called default values. That's all. And these are used when in case if developer is not passing any values, then function chooses or uses these default values. That is the quick idea, right? That's all, friends. This is all about default values. I'm switching to the next topic because I don't want you to feel bored. So that is the idea. So I hope you are clear on this. Next one, variable length arguments. So this is a simple topic. Variable length in sense, it's like, what should we say? One variable which can accept many values. I hope this is clear. One variable accepting many values. It's more like an array internally. You can see here. So what is a variable length argument? Another type of parameter is this. What is this? Variable length argument. What is it? A variable length argument accepts value from a color of different size. What is value from different size? If you see here, this is a color. For the first time, a caller is not passing any value to this argument. So this, I'll talk about this argument. So you observe all these colors. You can see this in the first case, we are not passing any value through color. Still, it is fine for variable length argument. It is variable length argument means it is an argument which accepts 0 or more values. Means 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or any number of values starting from 0, not from 1. So in the first case, we are not passing any parameter, but still that will work. In the second case, you see the color, one parameter, still it is fine. Two parameters, three parameters, four parameters, five parameters. If you observe here, through color, we are passing values of a different size here. It's up to us, like how many values we should pass if you ask a question. It's up to us, friends. So we can pass 0 values through color, 1 values through color, 2 values through color, 3 values through color, or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or n number of values. So this is a quick idea about how about the different size of values which we can pass through color. This is fine. But the question is, again, you might ask a question, how to declare variable length argument? You might ask this question. Simple. You can see here, you can declare any function name. It need not to be F1 here. It can be any name. This function name, it's up to you. But this is a simple, quick demo program, right? So a simple use case, we named function as F1. And if you want to declare this use case, what is that? This variable length argument, right? If you want to declare variable length argument, you can see here, we should just declare a parameter. And before that, we should use this asterisk. If you put asterisk and with a parameter, then that becomes variable length argument. I hope this is clear. And when you have, if you see any argument with asterisk like this in any Python code, that means this kind of parameters can accept multiple values. So it can accept a different size of values from color. So starting from ranging from 0 to n values, right? It can be 0, it can be 1, it can be 2. This how many values we can pass means that can be a different size. That size can vary from scenario to scenario, right? That is the quick idea, friends. I hope this should be clear for all of you about variable length arguments. So summarizing this, concluding, variable length argument is simply a parameter with a function declared with asterisk. That is variable length. Next one. To this variable length, we can pass values of any size which we want, starting from 0 to n number of values. How starting from 0 to any size. We can pass 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or n. That n can be anything. You can fill any value in that. That is the quick idea, right? So let us test this program and see how this variable length argument works in our program. Okay, let's test it. But before that, I'm very sure you are clear on this, right? So let's write a quick program for this one. I'm closing this and creating a new program. So naming it as variable length param use case. Now we are defining a function. Now we should declare what is that we should do here. Our parameters are variable length argument, length. And how do you declare it? Simple. You can come to the function, put asterisk some args. And again, this variable name need not to be args. It can be anything. It can be X or it can be Y or it can be Z or anything. Just for standard declaration, I am using args here. That's all, friends. Otherwise, it is not necessary to declare this variable as args here. It is not needed, friends. I hope this is clear. But this is like one variable which can have capacity to store many values. So now what do you do? Print. Okay, args. Maybe if you want, you can use format method as well. So the values are okay. And then you can put a placeholder, then you can say format, and then you can say args. So this is a simple program with a variable length parameter. You can see here. So what we are doing here, simply we are declaring with a asterisk. So that is variable length parameter, right? What is the difference between normal parameter and this parameter? A normal parameter can store one value at a time, whereas variable length parameter can accept different size of values passing from the caller. That is difference between variable length and normal parameter. Clear? Clear, friends? Okay. Now let's test it with the multiple colors with different value size passing to the function. Okay, first one, we are using a function call without passing any values. And let's run this. What happened? You should observe one thing here. We have an empty tuple coming as output. This time what you can see here. So that means you can also understand one thing here, friends. This arguments is by default is a tuple type. What type? This parameter is a tuple type. Maybe if you want, you can check it. You can see here print type of ads. Okay, save it. Now run this. You can see here. By default, this is a tuple. In that way, you are very clear. It is a collection which can accept. If it is a collection, you know, right? Collection means it can accept many values. So this is a collection of tuple type. So is that clear, friends? So just keep this in mind. So this is one more important information. If you want to know about the type of this variable length argument, then we just try to test that type. And we found that this argument is of what type? Tuple type, which is a collection or a data structure in our Python. I hope this is clear. Now, in the first case, we are not passing any values. So this parameter is empty. When we try to print it, we got an empty tuple here. Next one, let us see. Let's pass one value and run. In the second case, you can see here, we got what? 10 comma means one value is printed. Suppose let's see. So let's print more. 10, 20, 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30, 40. You can just keep on doing this. Let's run this now. You don't need to print type every time. I am just trying to comment this because this is not needed now, friends. I'm commenting it. But we are already clear that the type of this variable length argument is nothing but a tuple. That is clear for us. Okay. Now let's run this now. Now you can see. So these are different outputs coming from this function, from this parameter, from variable length argument. You can see here depends on the size of values you are passing. All those values are passed to the tuple, and you can see the output accordingly. You can see. So 10 in the second, in the third case, 10, 20. In the fourth case, 10, 20, 30. And in the fifth case, 10, 20, 30, 40, something like this. Now, by now, you should be very clear on this, friends. What is it? What is a variable length argument? And what is the type of that? And what is the purpose of this? Right? These answers you can add, now you can answer these questions, friends. Hope this is clear. And with color, you can see there are different size of values passing to the function here, right? To this parameter variable length argument. This should be fine for all of you friends. Hope this is clear, right? Maybe if you want to do any internal processing, like then what you can do, you can iterate on this tuple and you can do some validation on that, and you can do all such kind of things on this parameter. Is that clear, friends? This is the idea about variable length argument in Python. Hope why we had comma in the first case, we use only. So that is actually the design itself. It comes from the by default this tuple chooses comma as a part of the design itself, Shankar. That's all. So we don't have a control on this output. You got it right. So because we are just passing one value, so assuming that it might give have you know I mean chance for adding other values in future. Maybe it is adding some comma. That's all. So, but other than that, I don't think it has any issue. Is that clear, Shankar? So we are not adding anything comma. It comes from the output itself, and the interpreter itself will add that maybe to give a space for adding any other value in future, something like that. That's all. Okay. But still, anyhow, as you come up with this question, I will also try to again explore why this comma exclusively added when we pass one value in this kind of variable length argument. So this is a good question even. Okay. So, but this is the idea about variable length argument, friends. I hope you are clear with the topic, right? So I'm concluding this here, right? Now, this is the idea. So finally, what we did, we are able to cover all different types of parameters. So the quick question is, well, how many types of actual parameters exist in Python? If you ask this question, so if I ask this question, now you can answer. We have four different types of actual parameters exist in Python. So what are those? Positional, and then keyed, and then default, and then variable length parameters. Just a minute, friends. Yeah, sorry, friends. So I hope this is clear for all of you, and we are very clear on everything. And for more information, if you miss anything, just please try to go through those missed sessions. But these are all simple things. That's all. So finally, today we got time to discuss about default parameters and then variable length. And these are very simple things. So there is nothing really difficult to understand about these things. Okay. Let's jump to the next topic because we have so many things to discuss. So let's move to one topic one by one. Okay. So returning value, I think we had discussed this, right? If not, I will quickly cover this topic again. So what is here? Returning value from a function. How do you return a value from a function in Python? One more very important thing to understand. Simple. We can return a value from a function by using keyword return. That's all. So that is one thing. Second thing, we can also return multiple values from a function in Python, which is not possible in other languages. Yeah, this is true. In other languages, we can return only one value at a time. But if you come to some languages like Java or few other languages, still we can return multiple values, but by adding those values to a object or a collection. Only in such cases it is possible. But in Python, of course, it is much more flexible. This should be very clear. We can return a value, one value, or multiple values. That is possible in Python. So that is the quick idea. So now the question is how to return a value from a function. Before that, you are clear on this, right, friends? How to return what is returning value from a function, right? Returning value means once we do some business logic, we implement some business logic, that result of that logic, we don't want to keep that result in the function and we want to return back to the caller. And that is what we call returning here. So that is what returning is all about. The result which is produced by the function, if you want to return back to the caller, and such case is called as returning a value from a function. That's all, friends. So, and the syntax look like this, something like if you want to return any value from a function. And this syntax is same, not is same. This is applied not only for Python. This is same for all different languages. So we can follow this syntax in C, CPP, Java, C Sharp, and in many languages. And this syntax is same even in Python. So how to return a value? Simply speaking, return space some value or return space some var name, variable name. If you want, you can return a constant directly, or else you can return a variable from a function. You can choose any one of these cases to return a value from a function. I hope this is the syntax. Just remember all this. But this is not really a challenging thing in program. This is a very simple thing. I'll just show you. Sorry. So let us now jump to the discussion of returning a value from a function. But before that, I hope you got a clear background of returning a value from a function, right? Is it clear, friends? Let us see a small example how to return a value from a function and how to assign that return result to some variable and how to print it. Let us see a small use case. So I'm creating a small program. So here in functions, new Python return use case. Just naming with the proper name so that it's easy to follow. Already exist. Okay, then what we do? I think I had discussed this topic some time back. Let me again have a quick example and jump to the another topic. return type use case. So first define a function F1, or you can choose any name. It's not like every time we should use F1. You can create a function name with any name of your choice, friends. Okay. But what I am doing, I am choosing my function name as F1. So I'm taking, so what is the use case we are implementing? We are implementing a simple use case. What is that? Sum of two numbers. You can create anything of your choice. Okay. Sum of two numbers or area of triangle, rectangle, palindrome, Armstrong. You can create anything of your choice. But I'm just choosing this simple program. So otherwise you can do sum of n numbers. Okay. So this is the program. This time I am choosing this variable length argument to do this use case, to implement this use case, sum of n numbers. From the caller, I pass some 4 or 5 values, and all those values we should sum them and print it. And this is a tuple, right? So this is a tuple. So what should we do now? We should first iterate this tuple for I in args colon. But before that, to assign your sum, as we are doing, this is an iterative sum. We should declare some resultant variable and assign to 0. That is very important to find sum of n numbers. That sum of n means that n can be 3, 4, 5, 6 or anything, friends. That input range can be anything. So what we are doing, declaring a variable to have that result and then using a function. And I believe this has to be kept inside function as a local variable. You can see here. So keep this inside function. Might be if you keep it as global, I doubt if it work or not. So keep it local here. Then iterate the args here and then apply the logic. Some result equal to result plus what I. So this is the logic we should apply if we should find sum of n numbers from by using this variable length argument, friends. I hope this is clear. So now, after that, what this this total sum is there in this result variable. Now we have two possibilities. We have two scenarios. Either we can print this result in the function itself, or we can return this result. And in majority of the cases, it is always recommended to return result that is produced in this function. Right? I hope this is clear. So usually once we implement some logic, returning that result is always best practice when we are working with functions. And that is what functions are used for, friends. So what shall we do now? We should return this result where the total sum is stored here. So our total sum is stored in this variable. Now we want to return it. So how do you return it? Simply come here. You say here, return result. So that's all, friends. We don't need to do anything. If we should return a value from a function, at the end of that function, just choose that return statement and pass after return, just pass your value or variable. That's all. Then automatically at the end of what this function, when function is returning back to the caller, then this value which you are returning is also returned back to the caller along with the control of that function. I hope this is clear. So this is a simple idea how to return a value from a function. Now going to the next step. So this is declaring a function. implementing some logic, and then returning that result. So this is the three-step process we implemented for this use case. Okay, so this is function declaration. Okay, this is fine. Now, if this function should work, or if we should execute function, then we should call this function. Without calling, it won't get executed. So calling a function. As this is variable length argument, what I am doing here, I am passing multiple values to this function, so that that argument can store all those values. Okay, so you can see this is variable length argument. So we are passing it. You can see here we are passing an input size of multiple values. I hope this is clear, friends. But in this case, this is fine. We this caller is executed and control jumps from caller to function and copies all these values to tuple, and then iterates that tuple, finds the sum, and return the result. That is fine. Once this result is returned back, you should assign that result to some local variable in the program. That's why what we should do, this caller should be assigned to sum of values equal to assigned to some variable here. Whenever a function is returning a value in any language, we should assign that caller of that function to some variable in that program. Here, as we are doing sum, I declare a variable sum of values and assigning the caller to that variable, so that once the caller returns any value, and that is assigned to this variable. I hope this is clear. So now all the sum that is done in this function, that is returned to this variable here in this program. So what do we do right now? Print it, print. Now which one should we print? We should print this variable here, to which we assign color, this variable. So print. So now I am printing the sum is, and then dot format, and then you can say sum of values. So this is a simple idea. Print it. Now you see here. Now you got sum 15. You can add this 5 values and see you will get 15. We don't. So even if you add manually, the output is 15. Even here in the program output, we are seeing 15. So this is the idea, friends. This is idea about what? About returning a value from a function. So what is how to return a value? And then if we return a value, what shall we do with caller? So how to get that result that is written by caller, and how to use that here in the program. So this is all about return type, all about returning a value from a function in Python. Actually, if it is C, C++, Java, C Sharp, we have to talk about even return type there. But Python is dynamically typed language. We don't care about return type here. All we care about is what? If function is returning, it has to be assigned to some variable at the caller. So that is important. That's all, friends. Oh, okay. I hope this is clear for all of you, friends. Please, can you please confirm if you are clear on this in the chat box? Harish is asking a question. How to print each argument? Okay, no problem. If you want to print each argument, it's a simple thing, right? Here, print the value of, it's simple, right? I is, and then a placeholder dot format. You can pass I here. Oh, right, Harish. Run this. Then later on, you can see the output as well. You can see all your values are printed. And finally, you got total sum here, Harish. Is that clear?
One minute, one minute. I want to use in sum of arguments printing there.
What is
Sum of
that?
the sum of the final print is there. No? The sum of arguments is dot.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of printing,
You want to show all these values here also?
here also, yeah, yes,
Okay. In that case, you have to return this arguments also to the
arguments
column.
are column.
Uh, it's not just only result, but you should return both. What you should do? You should
I
return you
I
should return result plus arguments. Is
uh,
that clear? So how do you do? Let me just show you. I think if as you are asking, we can return multiple values from a function. We can return multiple values from a function in Python. Is that clear, Harish? Okay. So
yeah,
in this
got.
case, as you are expecting, you want your result, the final result, to have both your input size as well as this result. So what you do first from the function, you try to return that actual input range and then that result that is returned to the this variable. Caller assigns that returned result to this variable. Now, as you are returning multiple values here, this variable is not a scalar value. This variable becomes vector. Scalar means which just accepts only a simple value. Vector means which accepts group of values. Is that clear? Maybe if you ask a question, what is the difference between scalar value and vector? Scalar is just one unidirectional and which just accepts only a simple value. So this, as we are returning multiple values, those values are assigned to this variable. And even in this case, if you want to know, if you want to just extra, and this is some kind of collection, no doubt. Maybe if you don't know what is it, so what you do, you can print a type of, okay, type of, and pass that to this function. Is that clear, Harish? Are you following?
Yeah, yes,
Now, when you print it, you come to know the nature of of this data structure or collection. Hope this is clear. Then based on that, you can apply some, if it is a dictionary, you can apply some kind of strategy to get those values. If it is a tuple, you can apply some kind of strategy to get those values from the tuple. Or if it is list, you can apply some kind of strategy to extract these values which are written from the function. Hope this is clear, Harish.
yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
let's run this. Don't care about this output. Just only focus on what is the type it is returning here. So now you can see even it is tuple inside. This one is a tuple. You can see when we print type, it is giving as a tuple. You know, right? Tuple is a indexed data structure. What is it? Tuple is what indexed data structure you can see here. Okay. And inside this, you can see the output now. This time, when you print this variable, this resultant variable, it is storing two values inside this. The first one is the input size, which we have passed through color here, this one. And second one is the sum which is implemented in the function. So what we should do, if you want to get these values from tuple, simply you can do one thing. First, the first one, these are two arguments here. There are two ways. One way is iterating it and printing. Second one, extracting through index. So this is in zeroth index and this is in first index. Which approach shall we implement, Harish? Which one you want to follow, implement, apply now? Shall I use iteration or shall I use indexing to extract these values and print them? Which one shall we do?
Sorry, iteration.
Iteration. Okay, then see. Then let's apply iteration here. For some val in sum of vals colon. And here one more thing. If you want value by value, if you iterate this tuple is iterated, the high level tuple. Again inside that there is again an inner tuple. So this is actually a concept of nested tuples. A tuple inside tuple and a scalar value along with that. So in this case, you have to do a proper validation. What is it? First thing you can print like this. Print off. If you print simply the values, okay, then dot format, and then if you print val, let's run this now. So what you do, you get output like this. Okay, let me just do a thing. I'm removing the last print here. So we are iterating it and trying to print extract both values that is written from the function. Okay, now run this. Now you can see we are able to print what? Print this, your input size as well as your sum here. Is this clear, Harish?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
But again, if you ask me, I want to print this value by value. Actually, this is your question. Your question is printing value by value, Harish. So what you should do again, you should check if there is any collection here. And if there is a collection, then again we should do iteration. If it is a list or if it is a tuple or if it is set or if it is dictionary, we can do again an iteration on that. So what do you do right now? Here we have to apply a small validation. If uh, because we know this result, we are very sure this has just a tuple returning. We can apply a small validation. If val, if type of val. So this is how this type function is useful to us, friends. Equal to equal to. So tuple. What is the name of the class? Name of the class is tuple. We are just validating if the result coming from this variable is tuple. If we are extracting a value from the sum of values is a tuple, then again you should still continue the iteration. Again, you have to do one more iteration. What is it? You can see here. Are you following, Harish? So first we try to iterate tuple, which has both your input arguments and then the result. Then what happens? We got that in the value, and again on that value we are doing a validation. If we are getting any tuple in that value, and then what we should do? Still we have to do further iteration to get element by element. Are you following, Harish? Is that clear? So what should we do now? Then again for some v in val, okay. So or some anything. Then now you should start printing. What should we do? In this inside this per, you should start printing the v's and then print v here. And then else simply you can simply just choose what if it is not a tuple. If it is a tuple, you are going for further iteration. If it is not a tuple, we are just printing the other values here. So here the val is, and then you can print a simply value. Now, this is a simple use case for which for the for the requirement you have asked, Harish. So this is how we have to implement this. Let's run this and see. Now you can see here, you can see here. So we are able to get both this. Maybe if you can see here, maybe you can do one thing. You can print actual the original this variable sum of values so that you will be very clear on the output. So right click and run this. Now you can see now. So this is actual output written from the function where your function is returning a tuple. All these values, multiple values are grouped into a tuple and that is returned to the caller. Okay, or to the calling function. You can see here. And after that, on this tuple again we did a validation. If we have any tuple inside this tuple, the outer tuple, then what we do? We applied. You can see here. We did a validation, and then if you find any tuple inside the parent tuple, then we are further iterating it and then trying to get, you can see now. Now this tuple is printed line by by element here. And the result is finally this is the second element coming from the tuple here. You can see here. Is this clear? Harish?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So this is how we can get element by element on the result, Harish. I hope you are clear.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the idea. You can simplify this much more. You can again fine tune this by using a bit of adding again functions, recursive function to this. When you are dealing this with this kind of scenarios, again you can add a recursion to this and then you can simplify this much more. Okay, I'll cover a scenario on this probably if possible today itself, else in the next class. So how to make this or fine refine this kind of use cases. I hope you are clear on this, friends. Of course, thanks for asking this question, Harish, because this use case gave us an opportunity to introduce many things which we have already learned. So here we try to apply this type thing and doing a validation by applying if else use case inside this iterator. And also, this is also covering us a scenario of nested tuples and how to iterate nested tuples or nested lists. So the scenario is same. If you have any nested lists or nested tuples, nested dictionaries, this is how you have to do validation. You have to check the type of it, and inside that collection, if any of this collection, I mean data structures exist, then you should validate it. And still, if there is a data structure, then again you should do some iteration on that and then try to extract this. Maybe if this we have too many of this, then you have to go for implementing a recursive function, not like this. Because this is much more it becomes too lengthy and this is not a recommended approach. In such cases, going to the recursive approach is the best practice in a real use case, in a real programming. I hope you are clear with this, friends. This is the idea about what? Idea about returning a value from a function and how to return multiple values. Luckily, we have covered this topic as well here itself in this program. You can see here. If you want, you can return many more values. It's not like we should return only two. If you want, you can return two, three, four, five, any number of values. But all these values are grouped into a tuple before that result is returned by the function. Remember that, friends. So this variable length argument is a tuple, and the result that is returned is also a tuple when you are returning multiple arguments from a function. Keep that in mind, friends. So these are all. There are so many observations in this simple use case. I hope you are clear with this, friends. Right? So this is all idea about what returning a value and returning multiple values, and what happens when you return multiple values like this. What would be the internal data structure our Python is using to add group all these values, right? All that we had discussed clearly now. So this is nothing. I don't think this is not needed here. We can skip this for now. So now, after this discussion about all different types of parameters and then about returning values and then few use cases. Now, another topic is types of variables in Python. So, what are types of variables in Python? In Python, we have two different types of variables. One is local, the other one is global. That's all, friends. We already had discussed, in a way, we had a discussion on this, but still, I would like to discuss more on this in today's session. Okay, even though we had already a discussion on this, let's discuss it one more time. So variables already we know we are playing with variables since the beginning of our Python. So we are not new for variables, but something is new here is what is new here? It's all about this global and local. Let us have a more clear picture about these two in today's session. Okay, what is it? What are global variables? Simple. Global variables are variables which are declared outside functions. So those are all global. Any variable outside function is a global variable, right? What is local? Variables declared inside a function. See, this is a global variable, but this is a local variable. Why this is local? Because this variable a is declared inside the function f1. So that's why this is a local variable. But if you see here, this is declared outside a function. This is a global variable. So what is difference between local and global? If it is a global variable, that global variable is accessible to all the functions in that file or module. In that file or module, any function can access it. So that is a global variable. Is that clear, friends? So let us test this simple use case. So I'm creating one more file here, which with the name global variable or global local variables. Now this is a simple program. Now what happens here? We are printing a in both of these functions. You can see the advantage with this global variable is C. Let me add a comment. Sorry, friends. Sometimes this code is this is a global variable. So point is simple. Global variables are accessible by all functions in a program. Global variables are accessible by all functions in a program. Hope this is clear. Global means, as name says, friends, something it is universal and it is available to all functions in a program. I hope this is clear. Now that's why in this program we have two functions, f1 and f2, and you can see we are able to print a in f1. You can see here, and we are able to print a in f2 as well. Why? Because this is a global variable. This global variable is accessible by all functions in that program. Now, when you print, you can see here we are declaring colors at line 11 and 12. And when we execute this, you can see in both of these cases, in case of F1 and F2, both are printing this global variable A here. This is a simple idea about global variables here. So what is global variable and what is the scope? Again, this is important question, friends. What is the scope of global variables? The scope of global variables is what? It is actually a universal scope. They are accessible by any function. So that is the scope of global, right? So this is the quick idea. Next one. Let us see here. Local, another example for local. You can see this is the program. Now, this is use case one. Otherwise, let's create a separate program instead of confusing it. Local, global use case. Simple. These are all simple things, friends. Now, this is the program. Now you can see it. If you observe carefully, in this program, we have two functions. and we are declaring one global variable. See this is a global variable. Let me add a comment. And at the same time, we have a local variable as well in this program. And both names are same. Again, the important thing we should have here is both this global variable name and local variable names are same. Okay, let it be. We don't have a problem with that. We can have two variables, one as global and one as local with same names. We don't have a big problem with that. But there is a question now. Which will get executed by F1? Is it the local one or global one? There is a kind of question is ambiguity here. So that we should understand carefully in this program. Okay. So now you can see here now. How many variables are there in this program? Two variables, one global, one local. This is a local. What is a local variable? Variable declared inside a function, not outside. So I'm writing clearly. Local means variable declared inside a function is known as what, friends? Local variable. So this is perfectly fine. I hope this doesn't need too much of explanation, friends. We don't need to discuss this. For more time. This is not needed. This is a simple statement and to understand. Variable declared inside a function is a local variable. I hope so. We don't need much more discussion on this. This is the simple idea. And you can see here, is this variable declared inside this function f1 or outside f1? This variable a is inside f1. Then this is a local variable. What is it, friends? This is a local variable. Local means this is something which is specific to this function. And these local variables are not visible to other functions. So again, important point is local variables are not visible to other functions or methods. Functions are methods. Anything is fine. Another important point. So another important point is if a variable is local, the scope of that variable. Here we have to use the word scope. What is the scope of local variable? The scope of local variable is that function itself. Remember, friends. So the scope is a function itself. Is that clear? So maybe if you let me add the scope of a local variable is what is it, friends? Is that function itself. Keep in mind, friends. But what about global? Global is a global scope. They are universal. They are accessible by any function. But local is not like that. I think these three statements may give a clear idea, friends. So if you observe these three statements here, they just give us a clear picture about local variables. So where do we declare local variables inside a function? And then second one is again a question. What is the scope of local variables function itself? And is this local variables visible to other functions? No, they are not visible. And again, this is the simple idea. Now again a quick question. Now we have two variables with same names, a global variable A and a local variable A. In this case, we are trying to print A here in this function F1 and even in function F2, we are printing A. The question is, what will be printed here? What will be printed here is the question. So here is this when you print A here, does a function F1 prints this global variable 10 here, this global variable value 10 or does it prints this local variable value 20 here is the question. So you can please answer this in chat box. So what is the output we get here? So this is one thing. And what is the output we get here? If this is printed, so what is the output we get here? So please try to, what is it, friends? And again, what? Here, this local variable is modifying this global, this something. I don't say modifying, but we are assigning 20 to this A. Does this mean that are we modifying global is another question. So to discuss all this, to get a clear idea, if you just run this program, everything would be clear. But before that, what is what is the help I need from you, friends, is please answer these quick questions in the chat box. When we print this A here in this function F1, what is the output? When we print A in the function F2, what is the output? Outputs might be like this. One is possible choices are one is 10 and 20. Excuse me, friends. The second one might be 2020. Okay. The third one might be, what is it, friends? 20 uh, and then 10. Okay. So these are possible answers. So try to pick one answer from this, from these three. Even I'm just trying to give you possible values we might see in the output, but not all three. One among these three should be our output. So please try to, what is it, friends? Try to share your answers, friends. Please try to share them in the chat box. F1 is 20, F1 is 10. Okay. Yeah. I think you got my question right, friends. Right. So let's run this and see what would be the output. If you run it automatically, you understand this. I'm just only trying to get some idea from you. Okay. Let's run this now. When you run it, usually you understand. So let us analyze what would be our results here. Is it 2010 or is it 2020 or is it 1020? So I am going with this answer 2010. Let's run this. Yeah, you can see here 2010. Why? Here, this is not overriding global, but this is local. Your function here, you can see here, function always have a priority. When you have a local and global variables, function always chooses local variable over global variable. So that's why when you print A here, function uses local instead of global here. That's why you got 20 here. See here. I hope this is clear, friends. Second one. And this is in second case, this is by default. F2 is printing the global value A here, which is 10. That's why we have 20 and 10 here, friends. I hope this is clear for all of you. This is a clear idea. This is a clear difference between local and global. And when it comes to the function, function always has a priority to local variables than global variables. Always function gives high priority to local variables than global variables. It's something like this. There are two workers working in your house. One worker is a permanent maid in your house itself, which is local. Another worker, once in a while, they come from outside, do some quick job, and they just get away. Now the question is, which one, whom do you prefer more? The maid, which is who is always working with you, or the other worker who works in all houses and just comes once in a while and work for you and leave our house. Which one we prioritize here? Who is more important for us, friends? Definitely our maid is important. That is nothing but local variables. So function always chooses local variables over global variables. Always local variables have high priority inside function with functions than global variables. I hope this is clear. And apart from that, we have clearly discussed about what are local variables and then the pros and cons about local variables here. Hope this is clear, friends. So that's the idea. Understood now? Right. So the concept of local and global is completed, friends. We'll switch to the another topic. Right. We have few more very important topics with functions. So these are all so many scenarios. We don't need all that because our important this thing is to understand local and global. And by now we should be very clear on that what are local and what is local and what is global. So once we are clear on this, we don't. So what we do, we jump to the next topic. These use cases, if you want, I can share. You can test them as you like. Okay. And in the next session, I'll talk about recursive functions and then lambda functions. And then these are all very important use cases, map, filter, and reduce. So people ask a lot of interview questions here. So these four concepts, what is this lambda topic, map concept, filter concept, reduce concept. These are something really important for interviews as well. Not only just for learning, even they are useful even for your uh, real-time implementation as well. So what we do, we'll discuss this in the next session. Almost we are done with functions. We are at the end of functions. When once we discuss recursive functions, we are done with functions topic. Then we are going to discuss about another important kind of functions is this special functions like lambda, like map, like reduce and filter. These are all special functions, built-in functions that we discuss in the next session, friends. Okay. And these are all very important use cases. So that's it. Are you good till this today? I hope we had a detailed discussion on different types of things like parameter types like variable length arguments and then the other one is oh, what is it? Positional, keyed, variable and default parameters. And also we had discussed about return type and then we had discussed about what else? Returning multiple values. So, and then local and global variables. So we and also types of functions. We are very clear on default and parameterized functions. And there is one more topic remaining that we discuss in next class and jump to the special functions. And also in that special functions, there is one more, which is decorator. Again, this is very useful scenario, this useful topic for interviews again. People ask, definitely when you attend a Python interview, you can expect a question on decorators. This is one of the very important topic for interviews again. Suppose if someone is an active aspirant for Python automation or something related to Python, these are all important interview questions, friends. Okay. So that's all for today, friends. We'll catch up again next week. Thank you.
Uh, Hi Manoj.
Yeah, yeah,
In the function F1, we declared local variable, right? A
correct.
equal to. So even if you want to print the R axis global variable, then how can we print it? Because obviously it will take the priority of local variable, right? So
So in that case, see, if you want to print global, so we have this use case. Let me just show you. To access global inside. So generally, if you don't, scenario exists only when you have both local and global and local here. Right.
okay.
Suppose in this case, even if you want this global to be printed inside function, then we have to use this a small this global thing. Just a minute. For printing it, let me just show you. Like this. Like you can see here, there is a method called globals. Let me just use this. What do you do? So this is the method you have to use. Thanks for asking this question, Harish. I think this is useful for everyone, friends. So suppose in you have a global variable and a local variable. And then by default, when we print a, this always try to print local variable, no doubt, because function always has a priority to local variables. So when we print a here, a is printed. But again, the question from Harish is a good question. He's asking, in this case, if both variables are same, and if you want to print both in the function scope, then how do we print is the question from Harish. Then we should use this method, globals method, followed by this index here, and you pass whatever value you want to print here, that variable you want to print. Then that value gets printed here. Let's run this Harish and see. So you can see here now. So can you see here now? For it's printing
Yes.
20 first and then 10 the global value, and then again another time, one more time, the global value. So this is how you can also print a global value inside a function along with your local value. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's it.
Could you please give the code of return multiple functions in the chat box?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm sharing it now itself. You can have all this. Is that clear? Clear to everyone, friends? If you have any questions, you can ask me, friends. We'll discuss. So okay. So these are all programs we did today. These are all simple and small programs. I don't think any complexity is there in these programs. Okay, default params is one more we did today. And variable length arguments is one more we did today. And then what else we had discussed? Maybe if you want, you can take this keyed some kind of. So this output anyhow, right? We get this error because of the rule. We are not following rule. We can remove this. This is used yesterday to test it and to discuss in yesterday's session. This is done yesterday, so we can avoid it. Okay. So if you want, you can take this as well. Hidden positional, and then global, local. Anyhow, I have given you, right. Not sure if I have pasted this. Let me. Did you get all those, Harish? Have you received
Yes.
and written one? One more is written program. You can take that as well. If anything is missing, please let me know. I'll copy and paste it. Okay. Are you fine? I think I tried to print copy all.
Yeah, copied.
These are positional parameters. Yesterday's session, you can have this as well. And then keyed parameters, you can also have this as well. Okay, this is valid. And global local variables. This anyhow, I think I have given you. Maybe if I copy it again, just ignore it, friends. This is given. Maybe I'm not sure. Let me get pasted. Anything else missing? No, right?
Nothing.
Maybe if you want, you can take this as well. Okay, friends. You can copy all that. Even the variable length, not sure if I pasted. If it is Copied again, you can ignore it, friends. No need to copy it again. Just making sure that we don't miss anything. Yeah. So that's it, friends. Next week we'll close functions and then switch to maybe files are another interesting topic in Python. And maybe next week all the Selenium sessions also will. I mean weekend session will start. Right. So please share those. I'll share that WhatsApp links today, if possible. Please share them with your known people so that even if anybody is interested, they can join these sessions and upskilling on this Selenium with Python. Once Python is done, again we'll use this slot for covering on discussing about different tools like Maven, like Git, all that. Those tools are useful even for Python as well. So like that, this will plan and continue. So shall we stop here, friends? Then we'll close this here. And I really thank all of you because you are so interested in these sessions. I am very happy for that. Especially you Shankar or Harish or Sunita or Santosh or Balaji. Thanks for your dedication. So more than me try spending time, I appreciate your dedication for learning. I'm so happy for that. And please have the same spirit. And from my side, I try to help as much as possible. Thank you.
Gaurav, just one question. Actually, for Selenium also, what is the timing for the Selenium Python?
Selenium Python is